Today is the realization of a dream I've had to bring executive coaching skills and executive coaching conversations into our HR practices. As an HR professional, you are an expert in so many things. And now it's time for you to be the trusted HR coach, the person inside your organization who helps people think differently. Let me tell you about Laura, an HR director, probably very similar to you. She is connected with finance leaders in her organization. And for years, she's wanted them to lead their own workforce development plans, recruiting and hiring, and to create employee development plans for everyone in her organization. But they really had no intention of doing that. Sound familiar? She didn't know what to do. As a matter of fact, one day she finally went to the leaders in finance and said, "Just do this because I said so." And we all know how that turns out. Finance leaders decided not to do anything. So Laura came to me wondering what to do. I asked her a few questions about her thinking, especially, what does this look like when it's totally resolved for you and successful? She had an insight, a new idea. And that was, she wanted to be the HR teacher and the coach to the finance leaders, not the HR police. Well, it turns out our brains can really get in the way of new insights and new ideas. Our brains are great processing machines, and the biggest part of our brain is focused on taking all kinds of information in, sorting it, and storing it, hardwiring it back in our brains so that we don't have to think about it every moment of every day. This kind of allows our brains to go on autopilot, and that's not a bad thing, but it does get in the way of new insights or new ideas. So the part of the brain where our great, brilliant aha moments occur is called the prefrontal cortex, the PFC. Small region of the brain, and in terms of real estate, it's a tiny portion of the brain. It sits right behind your forehead, and that's where the aha moments occur. For those of you who have 10 to 13-year-olds, when you ask them, "How was your day at school?" what's their answer? Fine. My son picked up a new word, good, but it had the same whine to it, right? And that's all he would give me. And when I say, "What was really good about today?" Nothing. But when I started the call with, "On a scale of 1 to 10, how was your day at school?" he immediately said, 7. His brain processed everything right away and came up with a 7. My next question was, "What made today a 7 for you instead of a 1? He said, "Well, Dad, we had chicken patties at school today, and chicken patties are my favorite menu item in the cafeteria." Focused on his thinking, not mine, right? "What else made it a 7 for you instead of a 1? Did you know," he said, "we could sit anywhere in the cafeteria now that we're in 7th grade? We don't have to sit with our class like we did in 6th grade. He's in a neutral to slightly positive emotional state, and he's sharing things with me that are important to him. Great. So then it was really easy for me to ask the question, "So what does the afternoon look like?" Or, "What do we have for homework?" And then he told me right away. Counselor, we're all counselors, right? Which can be a really useful role. How many folks in the room are licensed counselors? Right? One, yay, that's great. She's got both quadrants filled. But we're not all licensed counselors. We're great listeners, but we're really kind of limited there at some point. What other quadrants came up for you as where you spend most of your time? Yes? Consulting, right? Here's the problem. I've seen this before. Really getting in detail about what this looks like. Now, what were your responses to, what's it going to take for me to move to the upper right-hand quadrant? What'd you come up with? Management training. I need to be trained in how to do this, right? These aren't questions I ask all the time. So I need some training. And so do other leaders if they're going to think this way. All right, so it's Monday morning. You go into your office, you open your computer, and you fire up your email. And the first thing you see is an email from your manager. And the boss says this: "Good morning. I was at this party this weekend, and I met this guy who knows a lot about performance management and performance reviews. I think we need to overhaul our performance review system and do a whole new thing around performance management. So I want you to set up a meeting on Tuesday with the 3 of us, and let's get this underway. And can you get the new performance management system in place with all employees, let's say in 2 months? Hey, have a great day." Now, your first reaction is probably like Homer Simpson, which is, my boss is doing something stupid again, right? As a matter of fact, I wish I could manage up. I wish I could control my boss and keep my boss from going outside of what he's supposed to be doing and doing my work. As a matter of fact, I've got to figure out a way to control him. Yeah, that's it. I need to control what he's doing. All right, thanks for doing that. Okay, so when you were giving your GPS and you were telling your boss next to you where you were and what you were learning, what did you notice? What did it feel like? What did you notice? Sorry? What did you notice about doing that and sharing your perspective this way?
Confident.
You're confident? I'm organized, I'm confident. What else did you notice or feel?
It relaxes the relationship.
Relaxes the relationship. Excellent. What else?
Very conversational.
It's conversational. Yeah, wouldn't it be great if we could have conversations with people instead of go through agenda checklists all the time, right? What else? What else did it feel like, or what did you notice as you shared in this way? Suggestion in what way?
Advice.
Oh, advice. So suggestions and advice can come up if we use this format. Excellent. Yes?
I think it forces you to be concise in your thought process so that you keep it short, particularly with time constraints.
Excellent. That's excellent. Our brains are really good processing machines, but you know when you talk for 3 or 4 paragraphs to somebody and then they kind of get lost, you need to make it specific and succinct, kind of generous, tied up with a bow. Unless you're at a conference, you're in here for an hour, so you're going to get a lot from me. Feedback, give and receive feedback. This is probably the most difficult thing to do because just like offering up a compliment or asking people about things they love sets off all those pleasure centers in the brain. When you tell someone you'd like to give them feedback, it triggers all the defensive mechanisms in the brain, right? Our brain wants to run away because it feels like a lion is chasing us, right? Can I give you some feedback? Sure. But we need to be in relationship with folks where we can give and receive feedback informally. I'm not talking about a big 360 survey, although that can be really helpful at times, but in conversations. How can you give and receive feedback? I start all of my meetings with my leader. At the very top of our agenda is feedback for Jeff, feedback from Jeff. And I ask my leader for what kind of feedback do you have for me this week? I also offer feedback to him. The other week it was, in our staff meeting, when you shared with everybody the cascade of your meeting with your leader and you went through that agenda and shared all the detail with us, did you notice in the room how everybody loved that information and took notes? We don't get that kind of information anyplace else. You should keep doing that. That was really helpful, really useful. We're going to forget that Monday conversation ever happened with your boss. That email never came in. He never talked to that person at the party about performance management. I want you to go back to Friday before that weekend. It's time for your one-on-one with your leader, and you go in and it sounds something like this. So I'm the one who stays close into relationships with people in the organization. I've talked with frontline employees and supervisors, and nobody's happy with our performance management system. I think it's time that we redo it. I'm about 5% into this. I've thought a lot about it. I know I have a lot of resources. I'm in HR. I know what performance management looks like. But we got a long road to go yet, and I want to start our first step in getting there. I'm going to put some time on our calendar for next Tuesday so you and I can talk about what this looks like. I bet you have lots of ideas too. And we'll go into detail next Tuesday when we meet. But if I were to ask you for just 2 suggestions to improve our performance management system, what 2 would you give me? I write those down and I say thank you. And then I tell my leader, so we're probably going to need more people to help us do this, and I'm willing to work across the organization to make this happen, not just inside HR. I know we have our big selling season coming up, and I don't want to interfere with that. So why don't you and I and my team start working on this now, and as soon as the sales season is over, we'll start to involve other people and roll this out. Please fill out your evaluation form for this session. We want your feedback. This session is a direct result of feedback from last year and the year before where people wanted to know, what's it like to coach up, coach down, and all around, and how can I do that? Lunch, I think, is next, and I don't want to stand in your way. Congratulations on your learning, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.